The evolution of tanks throughout history. Tanks. They changed the way warfare was fought. They did not only take lives, but they saved many as well. Without the introduction of tanks, wars may have went on much longer, taking more lives. The predecessor to tanks, cavalry, has been used for hundreds of years. Soldiers went from being unprotected on horseback to being securely protected from battlefronts behind inches of armor. The addition of the tank to the modern battlefront was not only a technological breakthrough, but also added a psychological component as well. In the early years of the tank, soldiers were terrified of this apparently impenetrable beast on the battlefield. The first ever production tank was the British Mark I tank. The Mark I tank was introduced September 1916 in Flares, northern France, to break the stalemate in trench warfare. The name tank was actually used as a code name to fool the enemy intelligence to believe that it was a water transport vehicle to bring water to troops on the front line. Between 1916 and 1940, there were over 1,220 Mark tanks built, spanning between the models of Mark I through Mark IX. Mark X, on the other hand, was a paper-only project, never leaving the drawing board. The British Mark tank series was used in World War I, Russian Civil War, the German Revolution of 1918, and minimally in World War II. During the period between World War I and World War II, the research and development of tanks drastically improved to include oscillating turrets, the component layout, protective armor, and the main armaments. The most produced Allied tanks were the Cruiser, the Churchill, the Valentine, the Archer, the Matilda, the Cromwell, the Stuart, the Russian KV-1, the T-34, and the most well-known Sherman tank. But was the Sherman tank up to par with the similar tanks in the German arsenal?
Did you feel safe in the Sherman tank?
Sherman was a very reliable. We had one tank in the outfit that they said came all the way from Normandy to Czechoslovakia. Can you beat such a thing? So, to me, look, we didn't know any better, let me put it to you this way. But the fact was that you were inside and you were protected from artillery and small arms fire, and that was a big thing. It was a very big thing.
The Shermans had a fatal flaw. Their main gun did not have the power of the German Panzers, but a hit from a German high-velocity gun could easily penetrate the Sherman's thin armor.
What was it like to live and work in a Sherman tank?
There's no feeling like it. You sit in the turret and it starts rolling to a village and you're sitting up there and you're looking it down to everybody and you feel like you're a conqueror. The trouble comes in when somebody starts shooting at you, and then the whole thing changes very quickly.
The sight of black smoke, I mean really black smoke, with rounds bursting off inside, is a terrifying sight.
It would burn very quickly for a very short while. As that died down, the heat generated from it would then start exploding the ammunition stored within it.
The most revolutionary tank advancements were from the German army during World War II. The German tanks were feared by the Allies due to their superior protective armor, revolutionary technical advancements, and large main gun and versatility. At the onset of World War II, the Panzer series was introduced. The Panzer tank was the first tank to be deployed by parachute to the battlefield. It was also the first tank to introduce an autoloader feature to its main gun. Shortly after the introduction of the Panzer, German engineers realized that armor layout needed to be improved, hence the birth of the Tiger I tank. Offering the occupants more improved protection with its 121mm frontal armor. The main gun was also increased to a 88mm. The downside of the Tiger's armor improvements was its speed, capped at 45 km per hour. To improve the tank's top speed, German engineers developed the Panther, which removed its armor and changed its armor layout in places. Lowered its gun caliber, resulting in a top speed of 55 km per hour. In response to Germany's tanks improvements, The Allies had to improve their main armament on their tanks, as well as the introduction of the M1 bazooka that easily defeated German tanks, including the Tiger I. This resulted in the introduction of the Tiger II. Improvements to its armor was increased to 185mm, and advanced angles were added for better deflection. The Tiger II would finish out World War II as the main battle tank for Germany. Another notable German tank to mention is the Maus. This prototype tank had 220mm angled armor and a 128mm main gun. The Maus also introduced the first ever gasoline-diesel hybrid engine in a tank. Due to these improvements, the Maus weight increased to 188 tons in comparison to the Tiger II's 65 tons. Even though the Germans had their major advancements in tank technology, they still feared the Allies and the capabilities of their fighting. Tanks were the backbone in the victory of World War I and II. Without tanks, you and I might not be here today.